Anybody watch the debate last night?
What debate?
Guess who wasn't debating?
Yes.
Council member race for District C. Thank gosh you've been here. 2 weeks ago, you got to see the incumbent speak with us, Freddie King. And today, you get to see the leading opposition, which is Kelsey Foster, who I got to know selling property in Algiers, on Algiers Point, because she is the head of the Algiers Economic Development Association. So anyway, let's welcome Kelsey Foster.
Hello.
Hey, Kelsey.
Thanks for having me. Good to see you again.
See you again. I'm so thrilled you're here.
Happy to be here.
Talk again.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, it worked. Okay,
Great.
good. Just making sure. So, I got to say, when I took a listing, and that was a very interesting listing. It was this huge commercial building that had been vacant that Entergy had owned on the point. And I was like, I should just reach out to the economic development people in Algiers. And it wasn't people, it was just you.
Yeah.
And I called the main line that was on the website, and you picked up.
Yeah. Answering your phone's important.
Thank you. Yeah, there's an applause line. You're already winning hearts and minds. Look at that. And you've done a lot for Algiers. I mean, I think Algiers Point specifically, I can't think of any place that's had as much building in the last 5 years. And all that housing inventory got absorbed. Mm-hmm. Like, they're on resales. They're not still trying to sell lots. I mean, even English Turn's not fully developed yet.
Yeah.
And how many years in the making is that? 30?
Yeah. Most of my life.
Right. And I mean, things just don't absorb in New Orleans like the rest of the place. But Algiers Point's special. Maybe tell us about that neighborhood and why you're so passionate about it.
Yeah, I've lived in Algiers Point since I graduated from college. My first apartment with my college roommate was there. We had this tiny little shotgun apartment that was $450 a month, and I took the ferry to work in the to work service industry in the French Quarter.
The old ferry.
The old ferry.
The slow
big
ferry.
boy.
Yeah.
The neighborhood has changed so much since then, and we have seen a ton of new builds that are closing. I mean, consistently above 800, which for the West Bank is pretty wild.
Huge.
Yeah. So it's great, and I think what makes Algiers Point wonderful and why we've, I think, seen so much, it's a lot of folks moving from other parts of New Orleans to Algiers Point because it is relatively affordable. West Bank real estate, this is a little dated, but typically is about a 30% discount-ish for what you're getting east to West Bank. That's gone up since, we've had all these nice new builds. But
See, a lot of those new builds were in the threes.
Yeah, to start.
You were getting three
then,
bedrooms
yeah.
in the 300s, and they were nice, and they looked appealing, and they were built by decent contractors.
There's two separate developments there, and some of them are significantly larger and a little bit more modern. They're just outside the historic district, so they look a little different. But we see a lot of people who are being priced out of the Bywater, out of Uptown, coming to Algiers Point. And what's really exciting, I think, is that we've seen a huge increase in amenities in the community in response to that. So in kind of a bucking of the national trend during COVID, we actually opened almost 20 new restaurants, cafes, farmers markets, pop-up businesses, just in the Algiers community. And we didn't lose a single brick and mortar business during the entire pandemic.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, it's wild. And I'm very, very proud of that. And I think what makes the community great and kind of sustainable is that we are pretty self-contained. Where people think, tourists always think that they're getting on a ferry to go to an island when they come to Algiers Point. And
but it looks a lot like
Bank.
Uptown. I mean, you've got historic homes that are protected, that are beautiful.
And it's walkable. It's walkable. It's walkable to downtown. It's walkable to Mardi Gras. It's walkable to the Quarter. You can get to work. You don't have to pay for parking. And I walked to Congregation Coffee this morning. I can walk to some of the best restaurants in town at Plume and at Nighthawk, and now we have a fancy new sake bar. It's really exciting to see Algiers become a destination for food and going out to eat and to kind of thrive as a walkable, livable, and affordable community.
Yeah, the New York Times top 10 list that just came out, one of the top 10 restaurants in the country is in Algiers.
Yeah. And in suburban Algiers, it's in Aurora, nonetheless. Yeah. It's really wonderful if you haven't been. It's a beautiful, beautiful historic property.
Well, I asked you all that. I mean, we care about real estate, and I think you had a hand in all that. You're very involved. I've been on trips for real estate development, and you're there with Louisiana Economic Development, or Gino Inc., and that kind of took me by surprise to see you there. So, are you from here? Like, tell us about yourself.
I was born and raised in a town of 211 people in Appalachia, and not surprisingly,
like in the Carolinas,
Western Pennsylvania. Yeah, it's a very strange place. It is not. It's Eastern Kentucky. Is
stranger than
where
here.
I'm from.
Okay.
And so I think I have a not dissimilar story to a lot of New Orleanians. I had to leave where I'm from because there wasn't any economic opportunity for me. I couldn't be there if I wanted to raise a family there. That just isn't a possibility. And so most people that I grew up with have had to relocate because that's what you have to do to survive. And I want to make sure that this city is a place where our kids and grandkids can stay, and that there is economic future for us here. And that is an economic development issue, and it's it's a housing issue, but it's also a workforce issue. So we've got to make sure we are attracting good, high-paying jobs and also building the workforce pipelines with organizations like Delgado and University of Holy Cross in Algiers, which was just named the #1 nursing school in the state of Louisiana, so that our people and our kids can stay, because I'm tired of visiting my nieces and nephews in Texas.
Yeah, it's really hot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Why would you pick this? You're doing great You're doing great things over there at the Algiers Economic Development Corp. Why? You're respected in the community, business community. Why go take this city council job?
Ain't doing it for my health, y'all. I'll tell you that. Stuff's hard.
Well, I hear it pays great.
I'm a sucker for punishment. My day-to-day job at Algiers Economic was to support our small businesses. It was to try to attract responsible, proven track record developers to bring in housing. About 80% of Algiers is zoned residential. And it was to support our youth in a workforce development program. I found at every single turn, I struggled to do my job because of the city of New Orleans. When we do see businesses close in Algiers, it is not because they aren't getting customers. It is because of systemic and structural issues. It's because the road work outside of their business means people can't get there or park. It's because they got a misread of their sewage and water bill for $8,000, and they can't seem to get it resolved. It was just City Hall at every turn, making it incredibly hard for me to bring in people to redevelop de Gaulle Manor, to redevelop the LP&L building, to bring in...
We brought all the King's horses and all the King's men, and that was
It's really hard when there isn't passion and a really solid understanding of how projects are financed at the city level. And that really frustrated me, is that we weren't able to have meaningful conversations with the kind of developers I want to see in my city. And I think that we do a terrible job of making people play politics. We don't interpret the zoning code in a way that is predictable or fair, not just for communities, but for developers, right? So if you come in and you know that the only way this project pencils is if you go to City Hall and you've got to kind of do this politics game to try to get a density bonus or a height bonus, it's exhausting and it's unpredictable, and who would want to invest their money like that? And so I do understand land use, and I do understand project financing, and I do understand economic development because it's my job. And I think District C has some incredible opportunity from de Gaulle Manor and Oakmont and Higgins-Gate and this massive multifamily blight that we've had for most of my life in Algiers, and in the Naval Support Facility in the Bywater. So these are some of the most crucial projects that are going to be coming up in the next 4 years in this city. They can sit for another 4 years, or we can be smart about this and get this together and make it beautiful. Yeah.
So I got to tell you, this political season, I'm a little, I don't know if confused is the right word, or I don't know who to believe. Because we've got 2 council members and then a state senator running for mayor. And if you listen to the 2 council members, they basically say, oh, our hands have been tied. Like, we want to do all these things. We can't affect city services. So what can you really do as a council member? I mean, you're coming at this from an outsider perspective. Is it like what's the truth in your mind on this of what that council can actually drive change for?
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of our problems are administration side problems, and I think we've seen what happens when we are not being good administrators, and it's like the least sexy thing you can talk about as a candidate, but actually like good functional administrative work, like it is so important. It is what makes your trash get picked up on time. It is what makes contracts work. It is crucial to a functioning government, and I don't think we've had that for a long time. Council's an advocate. We are, in this city, the way that our government is structured, your district councilor is the most constituent-facing person in any layer of your government, from local to federal. And so you want to make sure that you're voting for someone who is present, who is listening, who understands, especially in District C, really diverse needs, because we've got not just the Point, but all of Algiers. We've got the French Quarter, which is an economic engine of this entire state and region. And then all the way up to Tremé, St. Roch, and the Bywater. And that's an incredibly diverse set of issues and people and communities. It's East and West Bank, and as I'm a West Bank girl, and we love to be kind of scrappy and talk about how nobody loves us across the river, but there hasn't been an East Bank representative in this seat in 30 years.
You mean West Bank?
East Bank. It's always an Algerine. Always an Algerine in District C. And so, and that's, for a lot of reasons and the way that the district's drawn, but they do feel incredibly unseen and unheard, and they deserve to be represented just as much as every single part of Algiers. And it really resonates with me, I think, as an Algerine, to know what I know what it feels like when people say they've never been to the West Bank. And I'm like, really? It's not that far, y'all.
There's a toll.
You can do it. There used to be. It used to be.
It's been gone for a long time.
You have beautiful new ferry boats now, though, y'all.
You do, and they're very fast.
Come take a ride. It's 7 minutes dock to dock.
You can't bring your car, though.
No cars.
Just your feet.
No cars, and that's okay. We want to be a walkable.
There's bars and stuff to do and restaurants as soon as you get off the ferry.
Yeah, you want a DD on your way home from the West Bank if you're coming and doing Algiers Point night right.
So what are you most proud of that you've done with Algiers economic development?
I think, there's a lot. There's a lot of really beautiful stories to come out of small business support work. We get to be with people on the day we cut a ribbon, and sometimes we're with them on the day that we lock the door for the final time, and that's a really beautiful journey to be a part of with an entrepreneur. But I think the program I'm most proud of is the ACE program, which is the Algiers Career and Educational Development Program. We founded this during the pandemic with support from State Senator Gary Carter, who represents Algiers and the West Bank. And the idea is to kind of we take high school juniors and seniors who are kind of self-identified as, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. And we teach them some professional skills like how to write a resume,
real estate,
how to, they
actually
send
them this way.
We talk about financial literacy, and these kids are because they've got they're learning so much interesting information from TikTok and YouTube and all these things. So we talk about financial literacy. We demystify some of that. We practice job interviewing for the first time. You've got to make eye contact and shake a hand. And then in the afternoon, we take them on field trips to career centers around the West Bank that pay a living wage for non-university degree work. And we talk about the pathways that exist already for our kids to stay here. And we kind of just give them some support to feel like there is someone in their corner who's going to back them up in figuring this whole life thing out. And at the beginning of the program, we survey kids. We pre-test, post-test, just like all your teachers did to you when you were in school. And in the beginning of our program, about half of the class says that they plan to leave New Orleans as soon as they can. That is their plan, is just to get out of here. And at the end of the program, we can cut that number in half. It's kids who want to be here and want to stay here because now they understand, there's a tugboat company down on the river that is hiring right now, and I can get in there, I can work a career there, work my way up and make six figures. We do a tugboat tour every year, and that is I think the coolest I get to be to them because
I love tugboats. What's not to love about tugboats?
Yeah, it's my day to flex a little.
Yeah.
And every year we have some of these employers who hire on our kids out of the program. So it's a really great way for our businesses to find workers and for our kids to start to envision a future here in New Orleans for them.
Love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
What meaty problem do you want to tackle if you're the council member?
So I think we've already talked about economic development, and I'm particularly really excited about the potential of Jagall Manor and the Naval Support Facility in Bywater. But to kind of revisit the idea of like the wonky administrative work of government, my educational background is in public finance. I started my career as a reporter covering education after Katrina and got really good at charter school budgets. Went on and got an MPA with a focus in public finance and particularly how that affects like land value capture tools like TIFs, economic development districts, things like that. And I want to make sure that we are getting our financial house in order in City Hall, because I think it is absolutely wild that there is discrepancy between the administration and the council on how much money we have, what our deficit is, how much we owe the school board, why we've been skimming off the school board. That should not be a mystery. That is insane. I bet every person in here knows the balance of your personal bank account. It is insane that your mayor and your city councilman can't agree on that number for our government. That is just very poor, decentralized financial reporting that has been plaguing our city for generations. And we've got to get that together because the financial picture is not going to get brighter for us in the next couple of years. We're going to see state and federal cuts. We're going to have to make sure that we are thinking really strategically about how we are investing our local money, so your sales tax, your property tax. Those discretionary funds are going to have to be leveraged very, very astutely. And I want to make sure that we are operating off of a standard set of facts so that we're making smart decisions together, because the council and mayor should hold each other accountable, but not at the price of collaboration.
I think one of the things that really bothers me is when I listen to council members and they're saying, oh, well, we would need to hire a consultant to go look at that. And I say, actually, you just need to go take the elevator down a floor or up a couple floors, which is taking your life in your hands. It's on 1300 Perdido. And you just need to go walk a permit through and go sit there with Ashley, who's just trying to get her house built or renovated. And just see it. You don't need to let a contract that's going to take, have to go through all the, and look, I want to go through bidding processes and be fair, but you don't have to go through a bid process. You just have to go pretend to be in it and experience it. And you can pick the issue in the city. It's not always building and permits. There's a lot of places we could be better. Go sit in that revenue treasury room and wait for your number to be called to tell them that they're wrong. To tell them that they're wrong, right? to nicely tell them that they've made a mistake. And they've inconvenienced your day by having to go down there. Why can't we just find people that are willing to roll up our sleeves and go do stuff? I mean, I appreciate you because I see you on site visits. I see you going places. How are you going to affect that change? And it just seems like you're fighting City Hall.
Yeah.
Lack of a better
sometimes
term.
it's like if you can't beat them, join them.
Yeah, that's just. Are you going to become a big person to go get consultants after this?
Yeah. I think that it is incredibly important to have lived experience in the system, and that was such a huge part of my job at Algiers Economic. And it was so kind of heartbreaking because we would go to City Hall, we'd go to One Stop, we'd literally walk a business owner down and try to figure out why the heck they've been waiting on this permit for 6 months when it should have taken 2 weeks or whatever it may be. Because the One Stop website is great at telling you who's not doing their job. You can see it get stuck on someone's desk. And you can't really ever get it unstuck. And so we would kind of be the grease in the wheel sometimes for our small businesses. And honestly, even all the way up to, we opened a Burlington Coat Factory in Algiers Plaza, which is the largest shopping center per square foot in Orleans Parish. They got their occupancy license as their staff were lining up for training outside. We could not, over the course of months, get a national retailer their occupancy permit. Wild. Absolutely wild.
And who says New Orleans isn't fair?
Well, and it impacts our ability, right? Equity. It impacts our ability to attract these kind of retailers, right? So when we go to places like ICSC, and I'm trying to meet with a Burlington Coat Factory or a Trader Joe's or whoever it may be, we heard consistently, and I'm sure y'all have too, I tried to come to Orleans Parish once. No one would work with me. No one returned my email. I couldn't get my permit. It was a nightmare. We had a store there. It was a success on revenue and a failure in operating. And so, or, blight was an issue. We hear that a lot from like the dollar stores, that like they just like safety of their employees was a consistent problem. It was pretty horrifying to hear our reputation told back to us at ICSC, I think. That was a lesson I took away every year from that conference, is just how much work we have to do on our reputation on a national scale if we want to start getting the retailers in here that we know that we want to see and that our demographics support.
And frankly, our competitor, Jefferson Parish, has completely, since Katrina, Veterans Highway has redeveloped into this incredible national chain, mega center. And I'm not saying anybody wants another Veterans on Magazine Street or anything like that. What I'm trying to say is there's balance, and there's definitely places in Algiers that can use national credit tenants, and Uptown, and Claiborne, and all
Manor
over.
is a perfect site in a lot of ways for an IKEA. It's the right square. It's 22 acres. It's absolutely massive. It's right off a state highway. It's adjacent to a community college and a 4-year university, Delgado and Holy Cross. We don't have an IKEA in the state of Louisiana right now, but we have to be net population growth positive, right? We're flat or we're shrinking. Right now we're massively shrinking. That is the one statistic IKEA wants to see, is that you are growth positive, and we can't say that. And so I just think we have a lot of like really wonky work to do before we can start attracting these folks to our communities. I hear this from residents in the East, which isn't District C, but it's something they want retailers back there. And
they want grocery stores, they want all these services, and unfortunately the numbers are really...
It's a population issue. So I think we have some work to do on our reputation. I think we have some work to do on attracting and retaining just residents. But I do want to say, kind of to go back to the permit side, businesses would always be so happy when we got their permit unstuck. And I am here to tell you that is depressing. I am so glad that they were happy that I could do that service for them. And you should not ever need a Kelsey Foster to go get your permit from City Hall. You are owed that as a resident, as a business person. It is your right to have a government that gives you basic services. And this idea that you need this insider who can kind of call the right person and get your things is embarrassing. I think that there's some really easy systems work we can do on, so right now we've got One Stop Shop, which is where you get your permits.
Can we change that name if it's going to remain the same way?
It's like 10 Stop Shop. Yeah. 100 stop and go stops.
It is your one stop to learn a ton of things.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you don't have anything left to do on your journey.
Well, it's like sometimes the permits just disappear.
Yeah.
Come in and you're like waiting several weeks, and they're like, we don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So right now we've got One Stop, which doesn't speak to BRASS, which is where you go to get your DBE certifications or to bid on public projects. None of those speak to the Department of Revenue, who issues your occupational license and collects your sales taxes. So we've kind of just already built ourselves these like really wonky systems that don't talk to each other. One Stop itself is a 15-year-old piece of proprietary technology that was built for the city of New Orleans. 15 years in technology years it's like dog years. It's like
it's worse than dog years.
Very, very, very dated. And so I think that we could, other cities in this world.
I was going to say, can we be fair though? I mean, this is not changing software in any business, much less government, is very difficult. Second of all, like when all this stuff was conceived, it was actually pretty good that we got it. And third, like, we could, but we've got to go model after some city in Texas or Florida that is really doing this well. And we don't like to do that. We like to say, oh, no, we have to do it this way and we have to follow this path.
New Orleans exceptionalism is our curse and our blessing. It really is, right? Like, we are exceptional and we should be. We should feel that way. You know what doesn't need to be exceptional about us? Like our GovTech. Like, what if we're also using the same software that Austin is using and Miami are using, and these cities that are growing and growing and growing?
But you're going to get pushback on that. I get DMs because it sounds like I'm like want to be like Nashville building here at Austin, and I think there's a balance. But look at City of Houston. They just came out and said if you don't get your permit in, I think it's 20 days, it's automatically issued.
Yeah.
Like we have 20 days to give you feedback, and if we don't get it to you in that time, you just can proceed. It's an approval. I mean, just think.
Yeah, I want to make
think
sure
what
we're not.
trouble that starts.
Yeah, I was going to say,
right?
we were
But at
already
the
having
same
buildings
time,
collapse left and right. So,
but buildings are collapsing because we're building them bad, with one exception, and there's probably, there's a criminal trial over that, right?
Okay.
I don't think Hard Rock gets to be. Here was a city council decision that really, I'll share two that really get under my skin, and they might yours as well. Dezoning, like removing all the zoning from Hard Rock, saying, oh no, you can basically build like a doghouse on this huge piece of property from now on, because we're too stupid of a city to build something that legally was entitled on this property. That drives me nuts. The fact that we undercut all the residents of this area by their property values by telling Loyola and Tulane, go with no limitations and build as many dorms at rooms as you can. First of all, those companies get credit from bonds and people out of state, so they're not even using local lenders and money that's in town. They're then pulling the kids out of the neighborhoods, which is only causing people to lose property value, and yes, rents do go down, but so did demand. Places have not been renting the same since COVID, first of all, and now we've got a couple thousand units of housing opening up on these two campuses. Yeah. And how much property tax do we collect from those apartment complexes? Yeah. And we refuse to zone Claiborne in a way that a private developer could buy the historic Shell station or Wingstop and build. Thank you for laughing. Everyone else will get it later. If we took down that historic Wingstop or Class D office building and built like a really nice condo building there that students want to rent that's off campus, which is an international trend. Gosh, basic things, right? On a state highway. Yeah. We zone really, really, I don't know. We're overly cautious.
Yeah. So I think we zone poorly. We downzone quickly. And we don't then follow the zoning that we put in place. And when you see by right projects being denied, that is
maddening.
Not a green flag to me. As somebody, if I were a developer or an a site selector, or, if I can't trust that the project I want to build is going to be approved without asking for a zoning change, without asking for an exemption or a bonus or, whatever it may be, who would ever want to bring their money here? And I think, and to bring it to District C, the most chilling thing that happened in the last 4 years for me as an economic developer in Algiers was the English Term Project. I don't know if y'all followed that in the news. Is it a good project? I don't know. I don't choose to live that far out, but lots of people do. It's beautiful.
Give us the quick lowdown.
So there is land immediately across the street from English Turn. It has never been developed. It's woodlands. It's been for sale for many, many years. A developer from Mississippi bought it with plans to build multifamily. She was building a by right project, so no zoning change, no conditional use. The councilman put an IZD over that property that killed that entire project, so she is not able to build anything. That is not legal. That has also triggered a fair housing lawsuit against the city of New Orleans. That means we are ineligible to apply for any discretionary HUD money. That cost us $181 million in HUD grants we couldn't even apply to last year. That was funding that was supposed to go to our new Healthy Homes ordinance. That's the one that says your rental must be kept to a certain standard. It would have funded improvements for small landlords so that they could paint, they could do whatever they needed to do to be in compliance so that we're not financially burdening small landlords. That was gap financing for affordable projects like the Christopher Park Homes project on a Hano site in Algiers that we've been waiting for this financing for a decade. That's gone.
But one council member can't put an IZD, can they?
Well, they do when we have a council that consistently votes in line with the district council person. It's why you always see 7-0 votes in City Hall. It's always 7-0, always 7-0, always 7-0. We have
or
gotta,
it's like 5 and 2 abstains.
Yeah. We've got to be a little bolder in our leadership. I think it is okay. I hope that once elected, my fellow council people will have the we need to do the work of deliberation, right? We can talk to each other about your project in the east or your project uptown, and if I support it or don't support it, I reserve the right to vote that way. I think that the entire council has egg on their face over this English turn IZD. It is absolutely unconscionable, and it is going to bleed into the next fiscal year. It has meant that, people I had in my pipeline as an economic developer immediately ghosted. They were gone because that's the reputation we have in Algiers now. We also killed we killed a project on General de Gaulle that would have been mixed use and multifamily. And we had a developer come in who wanted to fix up a senior living facility that had been abandoned since Ida, just returning it to its previous use. Yeah. And the message was, if we catch wind that you're going to put a single affordable unit in here, it's not happening. This city has a affordability crisis. We have a housing crisis. We know we need up to 40,000 units of housing. Our people are financially struggling. This is not smart development. We can have a conversation, right? We don't build the old Fisher projects anymore. We don't do strictly affordable projects. We do mixed income. We do 10% affordability. We do, majority market rate, because that's what we can finance. There's not a developer out there who can afford the cost of labor and materials.
Right. If you don't have market rate apartments there. Yeah. It just doesn't pencil.
So I think we need to be intellectually honest about what we're building and what that looks like, what that affordability mix is, and we've got to start making legal decisions and good decisions and moral decisions.
Okay, so let's say you get elected. First 90 days, what are you going to tackle?
So I think the hot potato for the new council is going to be the commercial short-term rental study. Yeah, I know. I feel that way too. I do want to.
Why won't this thing just die?
Are you all so tired of talking about this?
So tired. I wish we would just get final rule, and we've screwed so many people. We keep screwing residents and out-of-state investors that love New Orleans and only bought, not because this is some wildly profitable condo in Aspen, because this is a place they love to come on the weekends and have great food and hear great music and dance with their loved ones. And we just keep screwing people by changing the rules of the road constantly.
Yeah.
And I hear you saying you want to make the city investable is the snippet. But I don't know how you do that.
We have reputation work to do, and that's real. On a national stage, that is very, very real. I think being a city that is known to be, we have predictable rules of engagement that are fair, and we've got to stop, governing by kind of exemption and loophole. It is also really eroding the trust of our residents, who I think don't feel like they can trust a developer. We know, right after Katrina, we had a lot of folks come in and it was like, surprise, there's a condo next door. And there wasn't a whole lot of engagement in those early years. We've done a lot of work since then, and I think that we have some more work to do to make sure that we are building trust between kind of the economic development side, City Hall, and communities who are maybe a little naturally. We are not a natural truster of government here in this town. No. So, and that's a well and hard-earned reputation, I'm afraid. But I think we can do this. I think we owe it to our people to do better. I think we owe it to this entire community to be a city where all of us can afford to live. Because right now we've got a quality of life that is really low for a cost of living that's really high. Yep. And that math doesn't work for a lot of families. It's why we've seen the largest population decline in any city in the United States in the last 4 years. I am pro-New Orleanian. I want us to be here. I want us to stay here. And I want our people to come home. So that's why I'm running.
Last question. One of my big concerns for the next council is the $100 million deficit that the BGR talked about.
Yeah. As your public finance girl, I'm here to tell you part of this.
I would say woman.
Right, yeah. Public finance lady. Madam of public finance, I am here to tell you that this is avoidable through just some really basic good accounting. I think this is a function. We can't even.
Wait, this is an accounting problem, or this is really we're $100 million short?
So we don't know, right? We all disagree. There's huge discrepancy on that number. It could be less. It could be up to 150 million. We can't agree because we don't have consolidated, centralized financial reporting, and that's bonkers. We have kind of a mixed bag here of we overestimated our revenues, so we thought we were going to make more money largely in sales tax. We've undershot that because tourism is down. That's a lot of where that lack of revenue is coming from. People aren't coming here from other countries. Our own people are kind of broke, and Americans aren't traveling right now. So that's tough. On the expense side, we had a massive overage, particularly in NOPD overtime. That is largely related to the January 1st attack. That was a massive, massive expense for the city. We hope that this will be declared a federal disaster, and then that means all of those overtime hours will be reimbursable by FEMA. But we don't know that because we can't really predict the federal government anymore. Right. Every day is a new day, and so...
Yeah, I think previous administrations, there's more predictability around that, but it's probably very unlikely to get it.
It is still the expectation, but we can't bank it anymore. So I think some of that discrepancy is will it, won't it? And how well is the fall going to perform for tourism? Now that football season's back, are we all going to go out and buy a beer and watch, some wings and watch the game? Will tourists come back is what we really need. So, we've got a lot of really intense economic pressures on us from the real estate side, from the tourism side. We, I think, can do ourselves favors. So to kind of maybe put a bow on all of this, the year that Costco opened in New Orleans, our sales taxes rose 9%. Because we've never had a big box store like Costco in Orleans Parish. We all go to Sam's Club in Jefferson Parish. You went and bought your socks in Jefferson Parish or whatever it may be. For me, I'm going to Manhattan, y'all going to Veterans, right? We were doing so much of that day-to-day shopping of things that weren't food in Jefferson Parish that when we had the chance to go spend, I personally spend way too much money at Costco, that it was a massive increase to our local sales tax base. So I think that we can attract those kind of national retailers that are going to help us bolster our local revenue so that we become less dependent on federal. Because we have been disaster budgeting for a very, very long time in this town, and it's not going to work for us in the long run. I don't want another Katrina to balance our books. I don't want another COVID to balance our books. I want us to balance our books ourselves.
Yeah, it's a tough reality when we still have a ton of employees in City Hall that are getting their paychecks paid by FEMA from 2 hurricanes ago, 2 major hurricanes ago. Okay, questions for Kelsey?
Hey, how you doing? So I've seen your signs, but this is the first time I've heard anything that you've said or any of your ideas. And I like the fact that you want to make noise investable.
Yeah.
Like that's an novel idea and developer, I guess, friendly almost. How would you fight NIMBYism? Because you have the 2 oldest neighborhoods in New Orleans between the French Quarter and Algiers Point, and it always seems like outside of safety and permits, things don't get done because somebody says it's not in my backyard, or I don't want that here, or this is how we've always done it. And so
I used to be the neighborhood president of Algiers Point, and it was truly one of those if you can't beat them, join them moments. I was like, we need young blood in here. We're gonna shake this up. So I think that the message of predictable land use decision making resonates just as well in a community group as it does in this room. It is what has frustrated people, particularly over the last couple of years, is that they don't feel they can trust government to do what the law says. They are, I think the hotel project on Elysian Fields is a really good example of this. It doesn't meet a single of the city's 12 criteria for a bonus, and it's being given a bonus, even though it doesn't meet one of 12 criteria for a bonus, right? So the community is asking this question, well, why? Why them? Why this? Why? While we're also denying by right projects in the same district, right? So this decision making feels really disjointed and it feels really unfair. They don't know what they can expect to pop up next door to them anymore. And I think if we were all operating from a much more standard set of expectations, and that's not to say that we just I'm not like a by the book only, die by the book kind of person. I don't know if y'all remember when they were building the new Deutsches Haus in Mid-City, but the design review committee, their feedback that came back on that project was that it looked too German. Right? So we still need to have community conversations. We still need to have pushback on some of these, the HDLC, the BCC, City Planning Commission, right? They don't always get it right, but we can deal with that a lot easier when we have the trust of knowing that developers and community and your decision maker are all operating from a fair and standard set of procedures.
I have a question.
Cody, go ahead.
I'm sold you're the Algiers lady, right? But talk to us about the Fringe Quarter. I mean, frankly, where a lot of us, spend our time, money, resources.
Lunch.
The big issues as you're tracking, I'm sure, with the mayoral campaign is, can we turn part of Bourbon into pedestrian only? What do you think about development in and around the Fringe Quarter area, BCC attitude, that kind of thing?
So I'm a pretty big historic preservationist. I think that it's important for someone in this district seat to be pretty pro-preservation. It is why people come here to see our beautiful architecture. Our architecture is our cultural heritage that we leave to our children and our grandchildren. I don't think that historic preservation comes at the cost of not being able to get your permits. I live in a historic district. I know it is infuriating when they're like, your doorknob's wrong, and you're like, what? Says who? Who knows? I don't know. I think that we can still work together and we can be smart, right? And I think that particularly around efficiency upgrades, so solar panels on historic homes need to be easier. Charging stations for, right? We want these things. This is how we all get off of the Entergy monopoly, is through investment in these other kinds of infrastructure. So, I had a neighbor who fought the good fight on electric car charging stations in historic districts because we didn't have a plan for that. Times change and historic districts need to change with them. We don't need to sacrifice our beautiful French Quarter for that. I do think that if we make a French Quarter that works for residents kind of first, that is inherently a French Quarter that works for businesses and a French Quarter that works for visitors. If it's safe for locals, it's safe for tourists. If it's walkable for locals, it's walkable for tourists. They are not always the same set of expectations or wants or needs, but I do think that if we kind of start from that perspective, a French Quarter where people can still live, and I want the French Quarter to be a place where people live. When I worked service industry in the Quarter in my 20s, a lot of my coworkers lived in the Quarter, and they walked to work, and that just doesn't happen anymore. It really does not happen anymore. I do want it to be easier to, financing any kind of repairs to French Quarter buildings is really tough. It's why you see all those upstairs units empty. There's so many, especially along Decatur, there's just no one, these beautiful old historic buildings with maybe a tenant downstairs and absolutely no one upstairs. Because it's really, really expensive to do historic preservation work, and it's really, really expensive to do any work in the city right now.
Well, and you can't command the rent.
No.
That's the other side of it. It's expensive, and you can't get anybody to pay the rent.
Yeah.
If the neighborhood association was okay with it, would you vote to approve lifting the residential STR ban in the French Quarter?
No.
Really?
I would not. Y'all, have you met French Quarter residents?
I'm saying Kelsey, here's what I'm looking at. All these people are getting old.
Yeah.
The French Quarter population, by and large, is aging out, and all these people are going to need to afford to move to some kind of other location for their end-of-life care. And guess what they've done to the value of their property? They have submarined it by putting a lot of restrictions on it.
I think we can make the French Quarter a place where full-time residents can afford to live and where people can afford to do work on their properties. I really do.
God bless. I'm pulling for you.
I'm an optimist. I think that in a built environment like the Quarter, the prospect, there would not be residents left. It would be, the economics of it would flip this into a short-term rental.
I'd be fine with a few blocks protected. I think it was one of the most racist things we did was outlawing STRs in the French Quarter, but saying, go screw up Tremé, go screw up Bywater, go screw up Marion, go screw up Holy Cross with your STRs. But we're too good for that. And then VC Port and others say, we always vote with our friends in Tremé. We stand up for them. And they speak out of both sides of their mouth. And Cindy, I will let you get off the hook without having to say anything. Cindy, I will pass this off to you.
All right, you know where I'm going, right?
Well, you asked the same question to Freddie King, so I think it's only fair.
In your district, on Rampart Street, across from Congo Square, where there's a famous historic plaque, there's Armstrong Park, there's streetcars, there's streetlights, and one of the most historical places in America, live music is illegal. Does that make any sense?
None. I think that just like architecture, our music is our cultural heritage. Why
but we're killing it.
Oh, it is insane. It's insane. I don't understand the crackdown on the cultural economy in general.
VC Pora.
I really, really do not. I think that that we should not be leveraging these, new fees and fines on second lines. This is who we are as people.
And the Jazz and Heritage Foundation, right there, that bought Cosimo Matas's building, that you can stream music, you can stream jazz in there, but if you put a live jazz musician in there, it's illegal.
Yeah. I've had the chance to work with the Music and Culture Coalition, MACNO, for many, many years. I am very familiar with their advocacy. I think they do an amazing job, and it is so important to listen to people like them who are advocating for our musicians, our culture bearers.
But they're not advocating for zoning changes.
They do. They do. And they have done some really good work around Frenchmen and bourbon in the past. I don't know that they've taken up that particular mantle, but I think it's an important one. So
okay.
I hear you and I agree.
Great, thank you. Just put it on the
Okay.
radar.
Hear you and agree.
All right, Kelsey, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it and having a great
Thanks for having
conversation.
me. I am guessing I have to go to the Council on Aging right now.
Yeah, we understand.
I'm sorry I can't stay. Please do, we've got a website. You can find my email there, my phone number. Please reach out if you ever have any more questions. I'd be happy to chat. Today is the senior voting caucus the debate, and so I shan't leave our elders waiting. I am sure
Go ahead.
Quite an audience.
We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
All the old people who will need to sell their French Quarter places for very little money. Ooh, let's not put that one on Instagram.
Yeah,
I get a little fired up about stupidity, and look, free market capitalism isn't perfect, and there needs to be guardrails. But when you start mucking up the system, you have unintended consequences, and that's it went too far.
I think a different way to say
soften me up here,
yeah,
Cody.
to
Thank
soften
you.
it up.
Since Lauren had to leave.
During COVID, when the rest of the city saw 30-40% appreciation on a lot of properties, the French Quarter saw nothing.
Goose egg.
Right? And so there's been 180-ish properties on the market since then. And if you don't sell, or get that under contract in the first 30 days, you're not going to sell your property in the French Quarter, basically, right? Yeah. And so, that's the concern from the real estate perspective is, do we have a market that moves? Because, for all the...
is dead there.
My friends that bought it in the 90s are going to hold till they die, right?
Because they have to.
Yeah. And, yeah. All right. Where can we